Being 9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Please do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was interesting.
Somebody like to change anything on the agenda or approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Be interested in improving the minutes from the March 24th meeting? Any changes?
I didn't see any changes. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, I guess now we will go into public comment. You have your timer? Anybody that'd like to make a public comment, now is your time. Please state your name.
My name is Cindy Cresswell Hatley, Yucatan Township.
What's your last name, ma'am?
Cresswell Hatley, Cresswell Hatley. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. There can be a balance between agriculturally convenient and what is necessary to maintain beautiful karst terrain. As we look back into the history of farming practices, we can see that many of the former practices were put into place with the intent of making more money or making less work, and as a result have imposed heavy costs on the environment and cropland. Unfortunately, the ramifications of these practices were not readily apparent, and the years of damage were caused before decisions were made to halt these practices, all at a cost to the environment and cropland. Agricultural practices can be changed relatively easy. However, the environment cannot be reverted back to its former state, since reclamation has not been really a priority here. I do feel that the half-mile sand density standard should be minimum distance. Hauling sand from one end of the county to another doesn't make any more sense than hauling from another state or county. If the goal is to have sand readily available and for construction and agricultural purposes, it would make more sense to spread them out more evenly across the county, or perhaps one per township, not clustering within the county. Removing the half-mile density standard does not make it more readily available where it's needed. No density standard puts more strain on the environment in the areas where these sand mines are clustered. When I look at the use of sand as bedding for cattle, I see the initial benefits of comfort and cleanliness for the cows. However, over time, the spreading of this sand will be building up in the soil and will lessen the productivity of the soil. The amount of sand needed for bedding is approximately 6 cubic feet per cow per year. If it's not recycled, it must be spread across farmland to dispose of it. When sand is present in excess, it can lead to a loss of water holding capacity, reduced aeration, and increased erosion. In an era where climate change, urbanization, intensive agriculture are taking a toll on our planet's soil health, understanding the impact of sand on soil has never been more relevant. Soil degradation is a pressing issue with far-reaching consequences for food security, biodiversity, and the environment. As we strive to build more sustainable and resilient ecosystems, it's essential to grasp the complex interactions between sand and soil. Using silica sand for bedding without recycling the sand is not the solution for either side. Recycling sand would reduce the need for additional mines, making it possible to adopt best practices such as maintaining a half-mile distance. Let's all strive to do the best for our environment, agriculture, and tourism. Thank you. And I have one for my husband. May I be able to read it for him? He's here, he can do it, but he doesn't like reading in front of a group.
Well, we said no duplications.
Yeah.
Correct?
Is that a yes?
We also allowed before to do that.
For her husband, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. This is for Scott Hatley. Do we really need more sand mines to meet the needs of Houston County? Currently, there are 8 permitted sand mines and an endless supply of dredged sand offered for free through the Army Corps of Engineers. Dredged sand can be used for septic systems. We talked to someone who represents a septic company that's local, and they told us that they have used the Brownsville sand for many projects, including septic systems. A spokesman from the Army Corps of Engineers who is in charge of the use of this sand said that the sand could be used for cattle bedding and septics, among other things, and that an experienced driver could determine where to get the best sand from the piles. If the sand passes the sieve and the jar test, it can be used for septic systems. Do we really need more sand? I didn't have time, this is him, I didn't have time to drive by all 8 mines, but was able to drive by a few, as well as some that are not current and have not been reclaimed. There was one mine that had 10-foot trees growing out of sand pile, and obviously no reclamation being planned. We need to look at what we have out there currently before we open the gates for more mines. When you look at aerial views of the 8 current sand mines, you can see that there's more sand to be taken out. We should exhaust the 8 that are currently permitted before we add more to the landscape. Right now, they look to be well distributed across the county and not clustered in one residential area or around any residence. We have been told by G-Cube that they were trying to get our ordinance more like Winona and Fillmore. So let's look at Winona County. Winona County is larger than we are. They have 626 acres, we have 569. They have only 3 permitted sand mines. We have 8. Why wasn't that mentioned in the request changes? Winona has a greater amount of concentration of both residential and commercial projects than Houston County, but they're getting by with what they have available. Why do we need more sand? I noticed in the findings presented to the Planning and Zoning Committee on the 26th of March that there was not anything pertaining to the concerns of the citizens that signed our petition. There were no facts stated in the findings either. I ask you to either grant our request or hold an advertised meeting to inform the public that may still be unaware of what has been changed. The 267 people that we had sign our petition from every township in the county deserve at least that. Thank you.
Next.
Oh, I guess I'll go get the barrel. Morning, Ken. John Haynes, Houston. Okay, this whole sand mine ordinance was a big thing, what, 9 years ago, guys? And the half-mile density was the compromise. So here we are today. Broken compromise, does that mean broken trust in this board? Now, I tried to explain the reason for this half mile. Pollution is measured in parts per million. When you put 2 next to each other, the curve goes way up. Let me explain it to you this way. I've got 10 acres of pasture. I put 4 cows on it. Manure management isn't an issue. If I put 40 cows on that 10 acres, now we've got a pollution problem. And that's the purpose of the sand density ordinance, to spread it out. Don't concentrate, just like a feedlot. Same. Furthermore, was just discussed, there's inactive mines. Why aren't we requiring a surety bond on these applications to make sure these mines are properly reclaimed? Something to think about there also. I hope the original compromise will be upheld here today. It was what we all agreed on years ago. Now we're trying to make changes, and I don't understand it. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Mary Denzer from Yucatan Township, and I want to address what John just addressed about the half mile. Some of us worked on this issue 2011, 2012, and we spent a couple of years trying to establish the half mile density rule. Now, I've spoken to people at the Court of Administrative Hearings, and they gave me a couple of state laws about public hearings, which I have given copies over here. Considering that the change was made from a half a mile density to a quarter mile density without adequate public notification. It was in a newspaper that does not have general circulation, and our townships have no recollection of being notified about the change in the law or whatever it is. What I'm asking today is that since that change from a half a mile to a quarter of a mile was really not according to the state laws, I'm asking for you to invalidate that, get it out of the way, and then if anyone is interested in changing it, start from scratch and doing the proper thing of following the state laws on notifying the public that it will be changed. Thank you very much.
Hello, Rebecca Christensen, Yucatan Township. Bear with me, I'm reading from handwriting. It has been mentioned that while no one knows how many or what types of mines we have here in Houston County, and I have found some incomplete lists, but what I have found is that aside from the 17 stone and crushed rock quarries we have, there's only one that is a sand mine. So in going along with what was mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting, that it would be to our benefit to have a sand mine on the east and west sides of our county. Two sand mines, one atop the other, obviously doesn't serve that purpose. The other mines are well spaced, and it would be good to see a sand mine to the east side of the county, or for that matter, south and east. Since it is unknown if the rock in our many quarries is limestone or shale, maybe that could be explored and the rock crushed in those locations to supply sand. Since I have found we have at least 40 permitted dairy farms, maybe a few more or less, I am not even sure of what quantity of sand we have need of. Some of those farms may not even use sand bedding. When you take into consideration our dairy farm numbers, which continue to decline, I have to think this would probably not be a good venture anyway. Given all these factors, I know of no good reason for the setback to have been changed in the first place. In the second place, it could not be proposed to open this mine in a worse location. Given the setbacks for the existing mine, the protected trout stream, 1 mile, the wetlands, which approximately 300 feet, the fact that the sand is rolling off the hill now by itself, all scream, keep out. I live directly below where the mine is proposed to be located, and if you look at Google Earth down onto our north field, without any commotion at all to that hill, we have an obvious sand migration coming across that field. You can see it pouring from the hill and working its way across that field toward the creek, which is the protected trout stream. As for the commissioner's comment at our last meeting, if it were anyone but the Olsons applying for for this, would we still have objections? I thought we were, if not friends with the Olsons, that we were at least friendly neighbors. But this experience is anything but friendly. Please bring back the half-mile setback. The good reasons for it have not changed. Nothing good can come from something so controversial. When in doubt, do without. Thank you. Please bring back the half-mile.
Donna Buckby, Yucatan Township, thank you for listening today. The false distinction between industrial and construction sand. I'm asking you to restore the 1/2 mile mine density standard for all sand mines in Houston County. The G-cubed amendment was justified by drawing a distinction between industrial sand and construction sand. That distinction may matter in the marketplace, but it does not hold up environmentally. Both industrial sand and construction sand are silica sand. Both are mined using the same methods, both generate the same truck traffic, the same dust, the same noise, and the same risks to groundwater, rural roads, and quality of life. And when multiple mines cluster together, the cumulative impacts multiply, regardless of what the end product is called. Minnesota's definition of industrial sand is based on purity, grain size, and uniformity, criteria that determine whether a deposit is suitable for specialized industrial uses like fracking. Construction sand also has silica, but of lesser purity, larger grain size, and more irregularity. Those criteria do not change how the material behaves in the environment. A deposit that doesn't meet industrial grade specifications is still quartz sand, and it still produces the same impacts when mined. The original 2015 ordinance recognized this reality. That's why the half-mile density standard applied to all sand mines, not just some. It was designed to prevent clustering and to protect communities from cumulative harm. By carving out construction sand as if it were a lower impact material, the G-cubed amendment created a loophole that undermines the very purpose of density limits. It allows mines to concentrate in ways that increase impacts on neighbors, roads, health, and natural resources without any scientific basis for treating them differently. Approving the Baker, Hadley, and Iverson amendment restores the half-mile standard and simply returns the ordinance to a science-based, impact-based approach. It treats like materials alike and protects the county as a whole. This is not anti-business, not anti-farming. It is pro-planning, pro-fairness, and pro-public health. Thank you for listening.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Joan Reddig from Money Creek Township of going on 27 years now. So rather new to the county. I grew up on a farm in Winona County, and which is still in our family. So I have a written statement also to make sure I cover everything. I reviewed the findings of the county that were prepared for the March 26th planning and zoning hearing, and I am concerned. Although there are 8 listed, none of them presented any facts, nor did they address the concern of the landowners that signed the petition. They could be summarized as only an opinion. The findings that I am most concerned about and need to be addressed in my 3 minutes, hopefully I get there. Number 7, states that it is not economical to transport materials over long distances. Exactly. Houston County is composed of 569 miles, 552 miles of land. Clustering sand mines does not lessen the transportation of these materials. What would lessen the transportation would be sand mines that are distanced from each other. Number 8, neighboring counties should not be burdened unfairly by our need for sand. This has nothing to do with dropping the half-mile density standard, and furthermore, we don't feel that way when we send our refuse to La Crosse County. Our track record doesn't support this. Number 5 and 6, although we have a greater number of rock quarries, they are not held to a mine density standard. Rock and gravel quarries do not produce the same health risks as silica sand. However, if you feel that they are the same, perhaps you should consider adding rock and gravel quarries to the same mine density standard as silica sand. Personally, I see that they are not the same, and imposing a mine density standard would be overkill. Number 4, tourists use our infrastructures and establishments, so sand is needed. These items can be maintained with a mine density standard of a half-mile in place. As you can see, the mine density standard does not affect agricultural land or practices. It does, however, protect the beauty of the surroundings, the quality of our air and water, and the natural rare ecosystems, our agriculture, and most importantly, the health of our neighbors. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm Teresa O'Donnell Ebner. I live in La Crescent, but I do have an extra connection to the area that we're talking about today. I grew up in Rushford. I canoed and kayaked and tubed the river and still do that on occasion. I'm here to voice my concern about the possible damage of expanding sand mining, and I support restoring that half-mile density standard. The county's comprehensive plan was recently updated, the comprehensive land use plan. And as a member of the La Crescent City Council, I know the hard work that goes into developing those plans. There's a lot of time and effort, there's a lot of input, there's a lot of big picture thinking of where do we want to go as a community and how do we want our community to thrive. And so it's with that in mind that I think about the goals that were set in developing that land use plan and trying to set the priorities that meets county needs, but also follows the values of the people that live and call Houston County home. And so with that, I want to share with you, I know you probably look at that document on a number of occasions, but as I took another look at it, because I do remember when it was first adopted, and there's a couple pages right at the beginning that I want to encourage you to take a look at. On page 4, there's a section that talks about why are we doing this, how did we gather people's input, and it talks about balance, a balance of needs of the community and the environment. In many areas, agriculture serves as a backbone of Houston County and needs continued support from the community. Additionally, the natural environment is an important asset that needs protection. The plan should balance both of those community needs. But then I look to the quotes of the public engagement section, and it says at the start of this page 3, the community members and their values are at the core of this plan. The core of this plan. The following statements are a summary that represent that planning process. And 2 of the quotes I'll share with you. Houston County is one of the most beautiful places on earth, in my opinion. We are right in the middle of the Driftless region. Small farms enhance this natural beauty, and our county has not been adulterated by poor land use decisions. And the second quote that was featured, the peace and quiet, the beautiful bluffs, good neighbors, and a sense of community. We live in an oasis and should treat it as such, keeping the environment pristine and protected. So there's your guidance, there's the framework, the land use plan that you developed is there to be followed, and I think there is a way to make that happen. Thank you.
Denise Ruffler, Yucatan Township. I was just going to also mention, or in following, I forgot her name, Joan, I think it was, she was talking about the staff findings. Something else that was mentioned was talking about allowing more sand mines will reduce the chance of having a monopoly. But I don't know if everybody realizes there is already basically a monopoly in this region. The fact that G&K Development, Skyline Materials, Bruning, Manoa, they're all the same parent company. Just like Roverwood was bought out by a parent company that's now publicly traded. So the monopoly already exists. And then I was going to also bring up the comprehensive land use plan, which again, in your guys' resolutions, you guys, reference the same things that would apply here, I believe, talking about the cultural and economic importance of agriculture, the preservation of scenic bluffs, valleys, and natural landscapes, the protection of environmentally sensitive areas, and the priority of natural resource protection over large-scale infrastructure expansion. Also noting potential human health impacts, potential loss of homes and farms, property value depreciation, aesthetic impacts, tourism impacts, the list goes on. The other thing is I feel like over the last year in the meetings, the terms density and setbacks seem to be used interchangeably where they are different. For instance, if somebody is buying property that there are no homes, then there are no restrictions because there's no setback from a dwelling. I'm losing my train of thought because I'm nervous. But the other thing is the fact that you don't think that half-mile density for sand mines is required because it's not applied to gravel or other construction aggregate materials. It's silica sand, so there is a difference. There are different risks. Silica sand doesn't care where it goes. In the operation, there's still going to be screeners, crushers, blasting, sifting, loading, and all of those things pose a risk for dust. And I think that is all at this time, so thank you.
My name is Mike Sieve. I'm from Yucatan, and I grew up in western Minnesota, and I left there in the 1980s. I moved from southwest Minnesota to southeast Minnesota, believing that this is the prettiest part of the state. Back when I left because I couldn't accept the use of the land. Farmers were draining their wetlands, groves were being plowed up, their wives' gardens were being plowed up. The advice to farmers in that period was get big or get out. I got out. I'm not a farmer. 50 years later, I go out there. I went out there about 2 weeks ago. Many wetlands are being restored. Windbreaks are being put in to stop the erosion. If you drive along the interstate, you'll see banks of topsoil. Instead of snow banks, this time of year, you'll see dirt banks. A lot is being done to stop the mistakes that were made 50 years ago. So I would just urge you to be very careful and think about the future. Think about 50 years from now or even longer. Whatever you decide today is going to have to be lived with 50 years from now. Thank you.
Linda Griggs, Yucatan Township. Good morning. I'm asking that you approve the Baker-Hatley-Iverson Amendment and restore the half-mile sand density standard that has protected Houston County for nearly a decade. To decide responsibly, please consider how the G-Cube amendment was adopted. It was a countywide zoning change, but did not receive a countywide level of review. First, it was triggered by a single applicant, not a scheduled ordinance review or comprehensive planning update. Second, key private commitments were made before the public process concluded. A mining lease was executed before the public hearing, before the planning commission deliberation, and before the county board vote. The timeline is clear. January 2025, a mining lease is signed, even though mining would not comply with the ordinance as written. February 2025, the G-Cube first presented its amendment, and the only public hearing was held that same night without independent analysis of need or impacts or public input. March 2025, the county board approves the amendment. Again, no hearing. June 2025, G-Cube files for a conditional use permit for a new mine on that property and then later withdrew it after public objections. This was not a broad policy update. It was a targeted change to fit a specific project. Third, notice and opportunity for public input were limited. The only hearing occurred at a regular planning and zoning meeting on the same day the amendment was introduced. The Board of Commissioners never held a public hearing. Fourth, there was no independent technical analysis in the meeting materials, no cumulative impact study, traffic modeling, groundwater assessment, or environmental review. No discussion comparing clustered mining to the half-mile density protections adopted in 2015. Also, no complaints of the existing half-mile density standard. This departed from past practice. The 2015 density standard followed extensive public input and careful consideration of cumulative impacts. This safeguard was removed without comparable review. For these reasons, please approve the Baker-Hatley-Iverson amendment and restore the half-mile density standard for all sand mines. It is a balanced, proven safeguard that protects public health, roads, groundwater, and rural communities while still allowing reasonable mining. Thank you.
My name is Jackie Baker. I'm one of the applicants on your agenda today. We are here, or my husband and I are here today to ask you respectfully to reinstate the half-mile density standard between all sand mines. My husband and I live in Yucatan Township, and we have 2 young children. When the density standards were first adopted in 2016, the community was heavily involved. There were hours and hours of meetings and extensive public comment. The half-mile standard was created to prevent overconcentration of mines, rural character, and balance economic activity with quality of life. My family lives next to a sand mine currently. We depended on that half-mile setback or density standard so we wouldn't end up surrounded by loud noise, dust, backup beepers, heavy equipment, and the transformation of hardwood forests into open sand mines. The impact of removing this protection is very real for families like ours. The only reason we're here today is because of one property owner who wants to mine sand on his property. They soon discovered that the density standards stood in their way because there's already a sand mine less than 500 feet from the corner of their property line. Yes, you heard me, 500 feet. There's already an existing sand mine and they want to open one on their property. Clearly, the half-mile spacing requirement was problematic. The standard approach after reviewing the ordinance, would have been to apply for a variance permit. The variance process with the county would have allowed the 10 nearest neighbors to have been notified appropriately. The process would have played out with total transparency and a process that is designed to get the affected property owners notified and involved. Instead, they found a workaround to the variance process that included very little transparency. The property owners had G-cubed apply for the text amendments so their name and property location would not be disclosed. The ordinance was quietly changed in 2025. We found out about the text amendment after the fact. Now, this has set a really dangerous precedent. The county has set a dangerous precedent by allowing this to happen. The lack of public comment at the time was not due to lack of interest, it was due to lack of awareness. This is very different from the extensive public involvement that shaped the original standards. This request on your agenda today does not ban sand mining. It simply restores reasonable spacing so mining can occur responsibly without overconcentration. Our amendment directly supports the land use plan that was already previously discussed. Thank you.
Dean Moreau, Merrill Enterprises, we're about 99% complete of selling Nordic Lanes and the Creamery in Rushford, Minnesota, but I do have a lot of data that I'd like to share with you. So last summer we were looking at changing out our point of sale system to go with a company with cheaper processing rates, and we ran a report. And in that report, we found out that we had, in the month of July, we had 1,100 unique credit card transactions to our place, 1,100. So that's somebody that has never been there, never used their credit card there. That doesn't include cash, doesn't include checks. So I'm just here to let you know, people come here because they enjoy it here, they love it here. They come from all over, they come from Iowa, Wisconsin. I'm just here as a business owner, asking that you take this into consideration. Thank you.
My name is Steve Hartwick. I'm a 50-year resident of Money Creek Township. One of the aspects of density is the noise and how much that gets compounded. I'm quoting from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency that says in residential areas, the maximum decibel allowed is 65. A chainsaw runs at between 100 and 120 decibels, and so you can imagine how much more noise is involved in a mining operation. The attenuation that they list is if there's 70 decibels at 50 feet, it goes down to 67 decibels at 100 feet and 64 decibels at 200 feet. So 64 decibels, 65 decibels. So again, the factor is compounded. If you have one operating, then you have a second. How much more noise is being generated to affect that area? Mary was talking about the Minnesota statutes 394.26, which is the adoption by ordinance of any comprehensive plan or amendments thereto. Written notice of public hearings on all official controls and amendments thereto shall be sent to the governing bodies of all towns and all municipalities within the county. There's no record of that being sent or no record of it being received. I know that you legally only have to give a article in the Caledonia Argus. The Caledonia Argus has 2,863 subscriptions. There are 13,121 registered voters in Houston County. So what percentage are you meeting for that? I understand for a regular conditional use permit that you don't need to advertise countywide for that kind of stuff. But I think something like rifles and shotguns, or also amending the county code, excuse me, the county code, that you would have to feel obligated to reach out to as many people across the county as possible, which would be the Fillmore County Journal, which should have been done. And also, anyone who has a mine operation or quarry, or whose relatives have a mine operation or quarry, should have to recuse themselves, or have the dignity to recuse themselves from a vote on this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Clayton Johnson. I'm from Black Hammer Township, and I guess I'm going to change gears here a little bit. But I appreciate your time and consideration on the shotgun versus rifle thing. And there's been, quite a bit of discussion. Obviously, myself and several people have been to several of these meetings and attended the hearings at night. And so I found it interesting when I was listening to the people that were pro-rifle on these hearings. It was basically, I want to use a rifle because of this. I want to use a rifle because of that. The folks on the opposite end of this, the people that want to leave the law the way, the way it was, shotgun, it's always been about safety for us. It's not, I want to do it because it's going to be easier. It's, we were looking for safety for everybody. And so I'd appreciate your vote of remaining shotgun in Houston County, and thank you very much for your time.
Hi, Dan Vestersee from Spring Grove. Judging by the public comments here this morning, it sounds as though you guys have a lot on your plate today, very serious matters. And I just wanted to speak on the rifle shotgun issue for the last time. If you commissioners are going to vote for what the people want on the rifle issue, let's look back at the first public hearing. I've heard it was 32-9 in favor of shotguns by Commissioner Cindy Wright's count. That's 72% to 28% in favor of shotguns. At the second public hearing, I did not hear any specific numbers, but heard that the Argus had it at 60% to 40% in favor of rifles. With both those totals added together, those in favor of staying shotgun only are still in the majority. And we also have over 280 signatures on a petition against allowing rifles in Houston County, which puts staying shotgun only way in the majority. So please don't discount those signatures and vote against allowing rifles in Houston County. Thank you, commissioners, for considering this matter. Appreciate it.
I'm Mike Moen from Spring Grove, and I also hope you consider changing it back to shotguns. My biggest issue is the safety, and I think that's been brought up before, because of all the changes in land buyouts, and there are so many small acreages of farms and that. And I've talked to landowners that have 20 acres, 30 acres, and they say, oh my God, we didn't know anything about this rifle thing. We don't want people hunting with rifles next to us. We're surrounded by hunters. We would like to leave it as shotgun. We feel much safer that way. And I respect your vote, commissioners, and I hope you look at the safety aspect of it. The number one ordinance or reason was to kill more deer. I honestly don't think more deer are gonna be killed because there's gonna be less landowners allowing people to have rifles on their land. Thank you.
Well, if there's no more public comment, I guess we will move on. Everybody okay with that? Okay. We have no appointments, so we'll do the consent agenda. Anybody got anything they want to change or leave it the way it is?
I think we should thank Carrie and Liz for their combined almost 82 years of employment.
Very good idea.
Crazy, so thank them very much for all their hard work.
Well, thank them too.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
And it looks like we have the payments included in this category now? So-
Correct, yep. Yeah, and then that was kind of one of those, we had it down in the action items. We just kind of put in the consent agenda just for flow. If there's something that anybody has questions of, we can always just pull that out of the consent agenda and then bring Carol up, so, at that point.
Everybody good with that?
That's fine.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Consent agenda passes. All right, we'll be moving on to action items. Discuss and possibly action regarding the rifle ordinance.
Yeah, so this is gonna be, kind of the, conversation and decision of direction that the commissioners would like to go regarding a rifle ordinance. I have it as discussion and possible action regarding the rifle ordinance, so you can have a conversation about it. There's some options that we can go if the board decides they would like to have a rifle ordinance. We'd motion and second, and if that passed, then I would move forward with putting together an ordinance that would come back, obviously, for approval.
Do we need an ordinance when the state's already stated that it's the statewide standard?
No. If the rifle ordinance, if you just want shotgun only. Yeah, so an ordinance against rifles, sorry about that. So if the commissioners would like just shotgun only, then I would work on the rifle ordinance, an ordinance banning rifles, which would eventually come back to the Board of Commissioners for the ordinance approval. Or if the commission wants just to have the state law be enacted, then nothing really moves forward. If you just do nothing, then the state law just automatically comes into play allowing rifles.
Okay, is there a motion to go with shotguns in Houston County?
To keep, so to not go along with
With state law.
the yes, okay. I would say that in my several months of talking to people, I've talked to about 120, 130 people in addition to our public forums that we've had, and 75% of those people say that they are opposed to rifles. And so that's something that I'm, going to base my decisions on, is what others in the community are bringing to me. I also think that, if it's one of those things, if it's not broken, don't fix it, which has been said many times here. I think that we have another opportunity. We can change this next year if we want to look at that. Brent gave us an email this morning from, I think it was from Joskowski, but it was from the DNR, the numbers so far that counties have either voting with keeping the policy the same or including rifles, and then also undecided. There's still over 20 counties that are undecided at this point. I'm not sure of this, this number, because there's more than, I think this number only has like 72 of our counties listed. So there's some numbers that are still missing that we are probably undecided, or that it's pending approval for this month. I don't know where those numbers are coming
There's
from.
been rifle above, I believe it's I-94 forever.
Yeah, it's been
So
rifle.
the northern, basically the northern part of.
Oh, so the
has been
stats might
rifles,
not
so you're never
include
gonna
the
see-
northern counties.
Because they've always been rifles.
Yeah, it could be a kind of a cherry-picked, who this applies to
Well, it's
in
not
the
cherry
data.
picked, It's been rifle forever up in.
It doesn't say that, Eric, so I'm not quite sure what, which, it just says that this is
Right, the counties that are listed
the
are what's
data.
below
Yeah,
I-94.
I don't know. Anyway, the data that we have that says, which area that they're looking at with the county, is either they're supporting or not supporting. I also don't believe that we necessarily need to go with our surrounding counties. We don't do that with a lot of other ordinances. We don't do that with, some other things that we do. Houston County is unique. And I think we need to make decisions for our county and not just say, well, Winona County is doing it or Olmsted County is doing that. I think that's fine, but I'm sure that they have their own reasons for bringing that forward. I have even, I'm well acquainted, I've talked to people about the hunter safety course, which I took when I was 12 years old. I'm fully aware of, what this means for people and firearms. And so I would vote that we do not change we do change it, and we have a rifle ordinance that we bow out of the rifle ordinance that the state has imposed on us. Because we don't even know what's going to change next year. They might change it back. I don't know how it's going to be enforced. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point. That's my opinion.
So that was a motion?
That was a long motion. There's a lot of words in that motion.
I was honestly, where are we really going with this?
Yeah.
I am opposed to including rifles as in our ordinance.
So your motion is to adopt a shotgun ordinance?
Ordinance, yes. That would be different from what the state is requiring counties to do.
A rifle ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
I'm gonna second that. I also have listened to people from not only just District 3, but surrounding counties, or surrounding townships as well as cities. And I am gonna stick true to my word that when I added all this up, the majority of the people that I talked to wanted to stay shotgun, so I will stay with the majority, and I will second her motion.
Okay, we got a motion and we got a second. Any more discussion?
Sorry.
That was your radio.
Yeah, it was. I apologize.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, you want to do roll call, Allison?
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
No.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
No.
District 5.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. There will be shotgun only in Houston County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll be moving on to number 2. Thank you all. Accept the retirement of Lisa Yan effective June 4th, 2026 with
Nope,
36
nope.
years.
Action item.
Whoop.
Move down.
Meaning and zoning,
Gotta move down one.
every other ordinance.
Consider approving or denying a conditional use permit for Scott Standish for a single-family non-farm dwelling on less than 40 acres in an agricultural protection district in Mayville.
Can I ask a favor before we start?
Sure.
You were very hard to hear in the back. Can you pull your
Pull that
mic
down a
closer?
little bit, Greg.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe move it a little closer. Oh, I can't move it, so, okay.
Thank you.
Better?
Yep.
Negative on the moving.
Sorry about that.
Yes, so the planning commission met back on 3/26. We had a couple different proposals that night. So the first is for Scott Standish. This is a site down on County 249. There was an old farm dwelling at that site. It's since been parceled down into just about a 3-acre parcel. Because it has taken him I should say, it was a non-conforming use, and it has taken him a few years as he's kind of cleaned up the site and or now he's at the point he wants to rebuild. So he does need to bring it into, or up to current standards, which would be a conditional use permit. So that was the impetus behind why this came forward that night. With needing to meet floodplain requirements on the south side of that parcel as well, and how the house is going to sit in there. He did also need a variance because there was a small corner of the house that would encroach on the county highway there. And so the Board of Adjustment did approve that prior to the Planning Commission hearings that night. Ultimately, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this with just the two standard conditions. And I can read those if you would like.
Planning Commission approved. Everything was okay?
Yep.
Motion to approve the CUP for Scott Standish.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just one little discussion question. How does that really draw in with the 2 per quarter? Is that part of this at all?
This would be the only dwelling on that quarter.
I was trying to see it on the map, but I didn't see the lines.
Oh. Yeah, and, yeah, it doesn't really line up with the quarter line there.
Okay, that was it. Thanks.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. What do we got? Number 3, consider a conditional use permit for Gabriel Hall for a single-family non-farm dwelling on less than 40 acres in an agriculture district in Yucatan Township.
So this was a similar proposal out in Bridge Creek Drive. This was also an existing building site that had a farm dwelling on it, and the property had recently been split down into a 3-acre parcel. He was looking to rebuild the structure. Similarly, he also needed a variance. There is a feedlot within the quarter-mile setback there, and he was going to encroach beyond where the existing structure was. And ultimately, he maybe could have made the case for this continuing as a non-conforming use, but he just asked to bring it into compliance, and so he went through with the CUP process. We did not have any public comment on this one at all. He did, like I said, he did receive a feedlot setback variance from the Board of Adjustment earlier that night as well. And just because of some other issues we've maybe had out on that, at the end of that road, the Planning Commission did recommend to add a 3rd condition, and that was just an acknowledgement that from the applicant. I guess I'll read. The condition states that the applicant acknowledges there may be discomforts resulting from agricultural uses. And so that was just to get them on record that they realize that they are in an agricultural area and there are nuisances associated with those operations.
You gotta get used to smelling manure.
I'm sorry?
He's gonna have to get used to smelling manure.
Oh, yep. And he was fine with that. So ultimately, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this conditional use as well with the 2 standard conditions and then that 3rd condition that the applicant acknowledges there may be discomforts resulting from agricultural uses.
Any more questions? Somebody wanna make a motion to approve or deny that conditional use permit?
I make a motion, we approve.
Then a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approving or denying a conditional use permit for Tom and Colleen Niebling for substantial land alternation and excavation in the floodplain.
Yeah, so this was a little different proposal than what we have typically seen. the applicant was actually Bill Niebling on behalf of Tom and Clean. They currently operate a sod farm at that location off County 21. And on the south end of, or on the south property line, I should say, there's some acreage that he doesn't utilize for the sod farm, but so he was looking to harvest the topsoil from there that he would then stockpile on site temporarily as it dries and then use for the landscaping portion of their business. And then the secondary part of that project would be it for creating habitat for waterfowl. There was some discussion that night that around the setback to that south property line. The DNR, the property to the south is owned by the state of Minnesota and operated as a wildlife management area by the DNR. And this supervisor of that had requested a 50-foot setback, and the landowner was okay with that, but was hoping that he could get that reduced. And he has since discussed that with that director, and they were okay reducing that to 15 feet. And I'll maybe let Commissioner Johnson talk or discuss the kind of the Planning Commission's discussion around that and modification. If you want to take that over, I can.
Okay, well, yeah, it was the request by DNR originally to have 50-foot setback. And so we felt that we should stick with that. But if the landowner and the DNR negotiated something different, the Planning Commission, we all agreed that that would be okay if that was something that was negotiated to a lesser amount. So, and that, obviously that's what I've heard has happened now, so it's down to 15 feet. So I'd be okay with that if that's been negotiated between the DNR and Mr. Niebling.
Yep, and like, so the big thing was the Planning Commission had discussed that they were okay with you guys modifying that, since that has been a point of contention in the past. So with that being said, there were a number of additional conditions proposed with this recommendation, most of which were just kind of reiterating requirements of the ordinance. But I'll go through and read them. And as stated, condition 4 was changed to being a 15-foot. So we have the first two standard conditions. I'll take a step back. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this with 7 conditions. So the first 2 are the standard: the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations, and 2, that the county may enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner to ensure the permit holder is in compliance with the conditions and all other applicable statutes, rules, and ordinances. Number 3 is that the applicant must complete all Wetland Conservation Act requirements that are determined to be necessary. Number 4, they must maintain a 15-foot setback to the wildlife management area boundary. And number 5, that prior to excavation, documentation certified by a professional engineer must be provided to the zoning office, showing that this proposal will not cause any increase in flood damages, nor any increase in flood elevations in areas where a floodway has been established. Number 6, that fill, dredge spoil, and other similar materials deposited or stored in the floodplain must be protected from erosion by vegetative cover, mulching, riprap, or other acceptable methods, and a plan for erosion control noting where any spoil material or stockpiles will be located must be submitted to the zoning office prior to any excavation work. And 7, that temporary placement of fill, other materials, or equipment which would cause an increase to the stage of the 1% chance or regional flood may only be allowed if Houston County has approved a plan that assures removal of the materials from the floodway based upon the flood warning time available. And so yes, many of those are based on the fact that that whole area is floodplain, and it is actually detailed floodplain, so some of these are FEMA requirements.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. Oop, you got more discussion? Okay, sorry.
So just to be clear, so everybody knows what we're talking about here, this land altercation, they're gonna be mining topsoil, correct?
Correct.
Floodplain.
Yep.
Which is allowed, we do this in other areas, correct?
Correct. The problem here, or not the problem, but the driving factor in this is that this is a detailed flood area, and the stockpiling of materials there for a period of time then requires like the professional engineer sign off and conditional use permit and everything.
Okay.
These the piles outside of Hoka? See that are-
Yeah, just a few miles northwest.
It's in Mount Prairie down here.
Everybody's place there.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carries. Okay, number 5, consider approving, denying a text amendment to the zoning ordinance on mine density standards for Burns and Hanson, PA, on behalf of Corey and Jackie Baker, Scott Havlick, and Cindy Creswell Havlick, and Rosemary Iverson. So, I guess we've heard quite a few comments already. Any more discussion on the board?
You want to present it?
Yeah, I mean, as Commissioner Myrie stated, you've heard a lot of comments. If we going back to 2025, this was a proposal we received from G Cubed, as many have stated. It was not county initiated. With text amendments, they have to propose the language that they have a problem with and how they want to change it. They have to identify the compatibility with the land use plan and then also provide that justification for why they think it is necessary to change. And so then our office will facilitated that hearing and did so consistently with other hearings that month, and then as we do with every hearing. But again, so now we move on to 2026. We have the opposite type of proposal. This one was handled, again, consistently with how we do all public hearings. And they're asking to go back and reinstate the half-mile setback standard that was removed in 2025.
So were all the legal notices complied with in this last text amendment hearing as it was in 2025?
Yes, they were handled the same.
Same way?
Yep. Published in the legal paper, which has been the Caledonia Argus both years. And that is really our only requirement of our ordinance, I should say.
Any more questions?
So before the Planning Commission talked about this, the end of last month, again, we had, as mentioned, this petition signed by almost 300 people in our communities across the county. And there was 4 requests for action. And last month, I mentioned I wanted to review those and have us review those and look into those and actually address this, this whole process of the reviewing the ordinances. A lot of things have come out as far as, the differences of opinion on some of these things, the plan development of it, and then also how this sits with our comprehensive land use plan goals and direction. I would like to see this looked at in the same way as we do anything else with a major change. I don't think at this point we have enough information. I certainly didn't last year when I voted for this. I feel that I was not aware of the details that were under play. The terminology is one thing, but when we're talking about an area or, the setbacks and what we're talking about and how that affects those that are around there. Also, our inventory, and enforcement of the mines in Houston County. I'd like to know more about that. And then also, I know that we've heard there is a difference in the sand processing technique. And also just more awareness and definitions to make people feel safe. Because that's what's been proposed to us with this petition. I'm looking at it right here without all the signatures attached, and I see that there are some things that we probably need to study further, and also just make sure. I think we've been bringing forward our process for communication. Obviously, that might need to change. We talked a little bit about informally about maybe we need the other papers to print our information too if we're not, if we're in a situation where somebody has to pay for their subscription or get it out on the website, have definite ways to communicate, so it doesn't appear that we're doing something without public input, because there's way too many people, I believe, in the county that are, unaware or on another side of this, and they need assurance. So I'm not saying that it's, not the appropriate thing to do to approve this. I just don't feel equipped to do that at this point. And I think that the planning commission, I was there and listened to everyone's comments and listened to their comments. I think, the draft notes, we're going to look through that, and I think that there's a lot of things that are already being addressed from that. Planning commission was, did the best that they could, considering what they had at that point. But one of the options that wasn't brought up is, that I heard, was to just table this and check it out a little bit further so we can get full input rather than make a decision just based on, what we heard last year compared to this year on that. And I think we should do that with any amendment that we make.
You're referring to the last plan commission meeting? That we should have tabled it?
No, I said that, I think that they were kind of pushing to make a decision, to bring it, a recommendation, to bring it to this board. But, or possibly table it, it doesn't matter, but they weren't making a decision, right? It was a recommendation.
So just to be clear, at the planning commission, a motion was made to revert back to the old ordinance, correct?
Correct. I guess I didn't get that far. The motion was to recommend that the board adopt the change as to section 27.8 subdivision 1.5 as the applicants had proposed, but there was not a second, so it failed due to the lack of a second.
We did approve the findings, the 8 findings that were in the packet for that night. I know this has been pointed out to as not factual or opinionated or whatever, which a lot of things counter to this is too as well. But, so the half-mile density rule still applies to industrial, correct?
Correct.
So, which is a more intense mining operation than would be a construction. I mean, that's why we left that rule for that type reason. And the construction part is a less active mining operation. You don't have the processing,
Well, you don't have the day-to-day trucks every day going.
well, right. You
On
can-
demand,
With
yeah.
construction, it's a little less intense. It's not as much going out. So I think it just needs to be pointed out that the half-mile rule still is in play for industrial mine versus construction. And I know it's been stated before that we don't like to do what other counties do because that shouldn't matter, but I mean, this is the same rule that Fillmore and Winona County have. We never did a end use definition when we first adopted this half-mile density. We kept it open. Since then, other counties have done that. So I think at the time when this was being proposed, I thought it was a reasonable change to do. Because I know a lot of farmers that struggle to get sand for their dairy bedding operations. They have to truck it further and further. I know a lot of sewer installs struggle to get sand that is close by. They have to haul it from Wisconsin or a neighboring county. So also, it's been stated that the townships were never emailed that. That isn't true, is it? We've gotten confirmation that the counties, the townships were emailed on this?
They were, yes.
Yeah, just point of record that Amelia did have those emails.
Mhm.
Yeah, just also for record, Amelia did have those emails that were sent out to those. Yeah, she was.
I mean, I remember I was at that planning commission meeting, but then when it came to the board, it was kind of surprising. There wasn't public input at that time, so it wasn't that it wasn't received. And like I said, I think that there's been some work to define this much further. I think, Amelia, you've gone back and said what the ordinance doesn't require as a setback, and we do have to have some guidelines around this too. But I want to make sure that, if we can't just rubber stamp something and move it forward without a double check, and the enforcement of this is critical too. And who's doing this sampling as far as what's coming out of there. What the oversight is, I believe, our responsibility if we make a decision to do that. So, if we can clarify some of the things that we have that have come up in the last few weeks, and then address, like I said, I just don't want to go forward without addressing a petition from individuals all across the county that are very concerned about this. And I think we need to be able to answer that rather than saying, we're just going to go ahead and do it. It was kind of an unusual, a unique request, let's put it that way, because it's not like we have a lot of companies coming forward and saying, hey, can you change your ordinance to make sure that the language meets, in other counties or something like that. So I just want to feel I cannot support it until, even though the planning commission, did a lot of or had a lot of discussion, did a lot of work on this as well, until we have some reassurance of what the plan is, and how do we address some of the issues that could come up from this.
I think what you're getting at with your questions about some of the issues. What's that?
Speak up.
I'm louder than you.
I think some of the issues that you bring up about samplings and stuff like that, I think a lot of that would come up in the CUP application
Yes.
process.
Mhm.
It wouldn't necessarily come up in a text amendment change or a language process. How would you do that? You'd have to take samples all over the county or whatever.
I'm just talking about the process that the county has to
Well, and
assure
that's what
those
I'm getting
things.
at is when the CUP application comes forward, that's when you can address a lot of the concerns that people would have. Is it silica sand? What kind of sand is it? Whatever. So, and distances, of cubic yards, hours of operation, all that can be addressed in that CUP application process. So,
I guess, Eric, I have some concerns about it, just simply from the fact that since the day I started as a commissioner, our comprehensive land use and our plan has been like the holy grail. And we talk about saving the beauty of our county, and we're unique in that aspect, and we shouldn't compare to other counties, but yet we do compare to other counties. And maybe what they're doing, should we do or not do? There's a lot of confusion that goes with that. That being said, I'm not sure why we changed. It was set, and obviously we all voted for it, and I agree with Cindy, maybe there was a lot of communication or information that I didn't have. That being said, it started out with a half mile, and why are we gonna change it for one but not the other? I just don't understand that. And I would like to, again, keep the beauty of Houston County going in the right direction and keep our land use in the right direction. And I'm just not sure why we decided to change a half mile to a quarter mile or what have you. I don't. So shame on probably I'm not blame anybody else, but shame on myself for not having my research in. So, that's just my 2 cents. I don't disagree with Cindy of maybe tabling this for a short time to get more information, so we are accurate and aware of what's going on, but when you have a lot of people in that area that live in that area talking about this and have concerns for their children and everything else, that's a concern of mine then. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Bob? Anything you want to put in?
I keep hearing from people about,
hear, please use your mics.
it's here. Sometimes I get accused of being too loud, so here we go.
How come yours moves and mine don't?
I keep hearing people talk about not knowing on things, and, you know, I spent numerous years on the town board, and I heard the same thing. I mean, we as boards select our publications, we do our legal postings and that. I love it when I see a group of people come to these meetings because they're finally getting informed. On this particular subject, we didn't have a lot of people show up, and I'm understanding why is probably they didn't get that newspaper or that publication. And I don't know what we're gonna do to fix that, but I did look at some of the steps that were done. I questioned whether, our county attorney had reviewed it, and it sounded like we did everything properly, from what I understood. I also agree with Commissioner Zender that we do try to take care of our county. We have the comp plan, which is a living document that has to be looked at, and sometimes it gets changed, sometimes it doesn't. But the half-mile thing there, I think maybe we need to talk about it a little bit more. But where do we go from here?
Okay. Well, they pretty much got everything covered, from what I can see. You guys covered every point pretty well. So, somebody want to make a motion to either approve this or deny it or table this tax amendment?
I'll make a motion to table it for further research and information and make sure that we have alignment with our, the comprehensive land use plan goals, along with any process for communication, anything else we need to do to improve this process and not have some questions like we do right now.
Okay, we have a motion to table this. Any more discussion? How about a second? Anybody?
I agree with that, and I'll second it.
Okay, now we got a motion and a second to table this till we get more information. Any more discussion?
I guess as long as this doesn't, I don't want this drug out for months and months and months and months and months. I don't. Let's get the information we need and bring it back to the table and move forward.
So do we have, you had a question?
I just say we can't drag it out for months.
Oh, right.
And I was gonna ask also, like, what kind of information are you looking for?
That's what I was gonna ask.
If this is something you wanna take a look at, I guess, what is your ultimate?
Yeah, what kind of
ultimate goal?
information are we looking for if, what is exactly you're looking for?
Well, I'd like to look at not only our process and communication, of course. That's a primary concern. And then also, like I said, I think all of this falls under the request for action that was submitted to us and those 4 key points for making sure that we have a comprehensive review of county ordinances to restore and strengthen all mine densities. So kind of an overall view of how do we do that, and as Eric said, a lot of these things can be taken care of with the CUP or permitting on this. That's fine, but let's just say that then and keep that in the process. The second one was clearly define the restrictions on the number of proximity of sands allowed in the area. I think this was part of the discussion that we've had and we've heard that people talk about the location. If they're distributed across the county, is that more beneficial? Or as opposed to looking at kind of an integrated area where they're only there? Is that a possibility? Stronger health and safety protections for residents and the environment. A lot of people have brought up the issues in the sand processing, but as I understand it, there's different types of sand processing. Sand that's hauled out directly and not processed, that may be a traffic issue, but it's probably not as much of a health issue for people. Just in kind of a description of how that's done. And then, the other one was public hearings for community input, just to reassure people that this is how we're going to do it. And to also, I will be looking for anything that we have a question for to say, as I used to on the planning commission when I sat on that, is to contact townships, make sure they get that, so it's two-way communication, that they've had that communication, because a lot of times in my experience sitting on the planning commission, I would call up the township representative and I hadn't heard from them, but it wasn't that they didn't have any comments, they just didn't get the information for whatever. So to just reassure our communication is being conveyed two ways, from the community members, from the officials in the townships, and then also just, from our standpoint, talking to people about it. Or, that's what I'm interested in seeing.
How much time do you think you're gonna need?
Well, what you just outlined are extensive reviews, and I guess looking at text amendments, I guess my interpretation of it is that the onus is on the applicant to do a lot of that work and provide that documentation. But we're getting, your request is different than what they're proposing. Would you guys mind, not the first one, or I know that there's additional items on the agenda here, if we push this back and I ask a couple questions of our county attorney and then maybe come back at the end of the meeting?
Or we could do it at a workshop next week.
Well, this way we can make a decision today
Oh,
potentially, but I just have a question for her on how to handle something.
Go
If
ahead.
that's okay?
Okay. I'm mentioning that there's a lot more involved than the text amendment, and we don't often do that. If we have
Right.
county residents, we have companies coming to us and saying, hey, can you amend your ordinance for this purpose? I think we need to be very careful in reviewing those and have a process set in place for it.
Yeah, and I just think what you're asking is different than what's being asked here and what we kind of need to make a decision on. So I want to make sure that maybe what I will propose as an option is going to be appropriate.
Okay, if you want 5 or
If that's
10
okay.
minutes,
Well,
can we carry?
If you,
Hold on, we got a motion and a second, so we got to vote on this motion and the second to table, correct?
Yep,
Yeah. All right.
okay, you wanna do that right now?
If this motion tables and it comes back to the next meeting, that gives you time to get what you need together, right?
ultimately what I'm wondering
Or
is,
it could be to the end of the meeting, whichever.
what you're asking is an extensive review and it's beyond what their proposal is. The safe way for you guys to deal with this would be to potentially approve what they're proposing, go back to what was there, and then nothing can move, or, then the standards go back to what existed in 2025. And then we can take a look at some of those additional items, which will take months with our current workload and staffing levels. Otherwise, if you approve this now, then if you were to deny it, it would leave the 2025 language in there. And then as they've identified, there are some concerns about how that, what could come of that if it is left open. That seem.
And there's different ways to handle it. I know, according to our rules, that I could rescind the motion that I made a year ago and give notice of rescinding that motion to change this. Any of us could. There's different ways to look at it. I just want further information because even though we may be looking at something more specific and how do we do this, I'm still not prepared to vote for this today. Is why I made that
You can
motion.
rescind a motion from a year ago?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You have to bring it up and I have to give you notice or somebody. believe me.
Well, let's do this. You go talk with the attorneys and we'll keep on going with our meeting and then at the end of the meeting, you can come back.
We got a
I
motion and a
guess I just
second
stated
on,
what my whole concern
we got
was.
a motion and a
so.
second on the floor.
I think she just did talk to the attorney in front of
Yes.
everybody, so I think.
Okay, all right. You wanna do roll call on this?
And I guess I'll remind you guys that in order to do a text amendment, we do need 4/5.
Wait a minute, no.
We're not doing an
We got a
amendment.
motion to table. We're not making them.
Oh
We
my
ain't doing no.
goodness.
Yeah.
Right, but
Making this way too hard.
Okay, let's do roll call to table it.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2.
No.
District 3.
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes. So it's tabled for now. We get more information, we'll be putting some things in the paper. Okay, moving on. Number 6, consider awarding the 26 chloride bid to Bluff Country Brine. Bluff Country's brine bid was $1.53 for chloride delivered and $1.68 for chloride delivered and applied. Brian?
Yes, so this is an item that we do annually. So we received 4 quotes this year for liquid calcium chloride. The low bid was Rough Country brine for $1.53.8 per gallon for chloride delivered to Caledonia, or $1.68 applied.
How much, what's the application? I mean, what's this, how much?
Typically, we apply about 50,000 gallons, a little over 50,000 gallons per year. We put and some of this is county gallons, some of it goes to townships for their roadways. And like the last couple of years, we applied the chloride ourselves to the county system, and they applied it to the township system, because that's been the most cost-effective way of doing it.
We would get it and bill them.
We will get it and we bill the townships. So, yeah, so we have about 20,000 gallons, a little over 20,000 gallons to go to the county system, then the remainder goes to the townships.
No, is there a motion to accept
At
the
the
chloride
lowest
bid?
bid.
Bluff Country brine's the lowest, yes. And it's,
Motion to approve.
How was the price compared to last year, Brian?
that's what I was just gonna say. I don't have last year's price. Last year's price I know was really similar to this. It was not a big change. I just don't have the exact
Okay,
price.
we got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, consider approving a quote for replacement of an overhead garage door.
Yeah, so this is, this past year, we did a walkthrough, OSHA walkthrough with MCIT, going through all of our different highway buildings and the recycling center, drop sites and stuff as well. One of the items that was brought up is that our garage doors don't have the auto reverse opener on them. If they are shutting and someone's underneath them, the door is going to keep going down. It's not going to stop and bounce back up. If there's someone that walks across, there's no sensor that's going to kick the door back up. So this is an item that we do not meet OSHA compliance on. So we need to put a plan in place of how we want to get into compliance. We don't need to do this immediately, but we should have a plan of doing this in a relatively short period of time because it is a safety issue. So we went out, we got quotes from 3 different companies on the garage doors. We put $30,000 in this year's budget for replacing doors. When the quotes came back, the low quote, if we replaced all the doors at all the non-compliant doors at the county highway shops, Tri-State Doors would do it for $54,783. That would be the low quote if we did all 3 of them. That is roughly $25,000 more than what we have in the budget for this year. Looking at how our budget lined up and with additional state aid money that we have coming in for our road system and overall transportation network and the facilities that serve that. This would still put us, as a whole, about $100,000 under budget on the year. So this request, even though it's over budget, on this one line item, it could be lumped into our bigger budget, and we have the money for it. The other option is we don't do any of the doors, or we do, one or two shops. There is a discount by if we do all three shops. If we only wanted to do one or two shops, that could change who the low bid from Tri-State Doors over to La Crosse Overhead Door, depending on what shops get done.
Well, this is on the shop down here, the new one?
This would, Caledonia's in compliance, so it'll be the Spring Grove. There is 4 overhead doors there. There's 2 of them over at Houston and 1 in Hoka. So 6 doors in total.
6 doors for $54,000?
What's the price for 6 doors? It's the 54,000?
$54,783.
And that would put us in compliance with OSHA?
Yes.
How old are those doors?
The vast majority of them were put in way back when the building got put in.
When they got put in, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say that wasn't a requirement for OSHA? Requirement at that time?
Some of the doors maybe had the requirement, but they had a tube on the bottom that when it would hit something that's no longer functioning. And some of the doors, it wasn't a requirement at the time.
How old are these doors?
30 years?
Well, beyond that. A lot of the doors are probably 40, 50, 60 years old.
As long as you have the money for it.
Well, we don't have the money for it. There's 20,000 over budget. So could you just do part of the doors and then do the next part next year?
Yeah, so we could absolutely do that. We can either do, I would recommend that if we do some of the doors and not all of them, we do either the Spring Grove shop. We put $30,000 in the original budget. Spring Grove shop quote, for the low quote is $31,950. That's close to what we budgeted for this year. And we do the remainder of the other doors over in Hoka and Houston, next year. If we did that, the Spring Grove shop has the most people going in and out of that. We have more employees over on those shops than the other 2 shops are 1 and 2 man shops. So there's more employees going in and out of the Spring Grove shop. So I'd recommend if we did one that we just did Spring Grove, or we do all 3.
Make a motion, we do the Spring Grove shop doors.
I'll second that.
Okay, been a motion and a second to do the Spring Grove shop doors. Any more discussion?
Are we in any jeopardy, for lack of better words, if we don't do them all with OSHA, for being fined or being in trouble?
As long as we're justifying, our reasoning, and we have a process and a plan for how we're gonna come into compliance. So in this case, what I would
Plan on
say
doing it
is,
next year. Should be okay with that. I mean, it's been going on for,
2-year process.
been using them for a long time, so.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, replace your doors there, bud. Next one. Consider approving a quote from Adeco Acquisitions LLC through the distributor Surefitter for message boards. Their quote is a state bid of $25,122.
Yep, so this is an item that we, safety is always an issue out on job sites and stuff. And, over years, technology advances, things change. And one of the things that we have, and all counties have, and we have a lot of discussion on this on a monthly basis on, what are we doing keeping staff safe and what's happening out there in the field. And one of the issues is getting people to, slow down on job sites, obey the signs and obey the flaggers and stuff. There is a company that is now providing, if you ever drive down the interstate, you see MnDOT has a lot of signs on pickups that are, they go down the highway, they'll tip up and they warn that there's something up on the shoulder of the roadway ahead. So these signs have come down in price, where now you can get a sign with the controls and everything for it for roughly $8,500 per sign. And a lot of counties are starting to to buy these signs and mount them on pickups. Fillmore County bought one last year, mounted it on a plow truck. We would like to get 3 of these. We would mount it ourselves. It's not just a sign that can display a message up to 5 letters or an arrow. When the sign's tipped down, it has the flashing LED lights around all the sides. So that way you can use it as just a standard 360-degree flashing beacon. When you don't need the full message up, you can put the message board up and you can have an arrow that points to the left or to the right. You can say whatever 4 or 5 letter message you want to have. So you can say, stop ahead or slow or something to provide warnings. We're recommending three of these units. We can mount them on 3 different pickups. We can put one on each side of 2 different job sites, or if we have a tree down in the middle of the night, we can be out there. We can put that sign up that there's something in the road that provides that better notice. We have a lot of times with trees going on at night, and it's always, the officer, when you get there, they want to leave to go patrol roads and do other stuff. They don't want to sit around as you're kind of removing stuff. So it's really, it's kind of comes down to a safety issue and when's the right time. This has been demoed with county engineers in the region. Pretty much every engineer when we saw, we're like, that seems like a great idea for the cost of how it's really come down. Had some of our maintenance staff look at it. They actually came down and brought a truck and were demoing it in front of our staff. There's not a single one of them that wasn't awed with what they can do with the price of it. So my recommendation is to buy 3 of them.
We have the money in the budget.
So we put $25,000 in the budget.
That's $122 over the budget.
Yes, well, shipping is an estimate.
You think you can make that up?
We will find
You
that.
scrape something up there, help us out. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to buy 3 of those boards?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Carries. Okay, number 9, consider changing the title and the pay band of Jordan Kotek for the Public Health Supervisor to Public Health Director, D61, Step 4, effective March 9th, 2026. This change is due to restructuring and not open position.
Yeah, so this is a little backstory on this. Back when our Public Health and Human Services Director, John Puglisa, retired, that left that position open. It was kind of determined for the county we weren't going to replace that position. That position was kind of going to dissolve, and taking a look at Public Health and Human Services, Public Health and Human Services was a really big department with over 1/3 of our employees in that one department. So kind of going through a restructuring, separating public health from human services made it, appealing for like efficiency and just kind of being able to have public health stand up on their own and be its own entity. Kind of with this restructuring with Jordan, there was no really open position. It's Jordan's supervisor is eventually dissolved. So with her being in public health, it just made her the next in line. Her job description essentially stays the same. Everything stays the same. The pay band is basically due to some of the responsibilities and the burden she has that she no longer has. Somebody that she's reporting to directly in that public health space. So she's taken on a lot of the more responsibility. And then also just the change of the title is just associate with herself and her peers of being head of her public health department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
So Gallagher reviewed this?
Yes, yep. And we have, it came back to be a D61 for this. And also, I just kind of wanted to plug a note in that as well, that even after the restructuring and the pay adjustments for individuals in this restructuring, just the savings alone from payroll is $113,000. That doesn't include the benefits of not, and obviously that wasn't the goal, but that was just a positive externality of the situation that happened. So it is budgeted for. Good to
Savings
go.
is good.
Savings is good.
Good opportunity to streamline and have,
Yep.
public health be led, and by Jordan and her team, and I think it's definitely a good decision.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Number 10, consider changing the county's current tax software to CPT, counties providing technology. Parker.
All right, I'm gonna have Carol start making her way up here to the podium. So right now, we are currently using a tax software called, and Polly too, tax software called Avenue, which
No,
is.
it's actually Minnesota Tax. The company was Avenue, but it's been bought out by Numo, so
Okay.
it's not Avenue anymore.
It's,
It's been, oh yeah, lots of them throughout the years. They just
it
keep
is
getting-
an end-of-life software that we pay for support that we don't really get good support on.
Mhm.
It's one of those things that we have to start looking at a new tax software.
It used to be that there were probably 40-some counties that participated in this tax software. There was a move to go to a Windows environment. There were several different options available. None of those really have panned out all that well. So this group of counties that have this tax, I think that's the way we should go.
So we had them come do a demo for us, and then there's even stuff to future on that we can start looking at when it comes to our assessor's office for them using Camavision and integrating in the CPT. And one of the good things that we've noticed about CPT is it's counties providing technology. So all the board members are Minnesota County employees, the people that commissioners, administrators, finance people, IT people, even the people that came down to do the demos were all county employees. I mean, so it's kind of a co-op for technology. Seems like it's a really good fit for Houston County. This is not a budgeted item, however, Carol and I both spoke, and she has
Right, we've had the discussion before that we were previously self-funded for workers' comp, and when that went away, we kept that money segregated for, partially for this purpose and for other technology, hardware, software, things that would come up. We didn't have enough to do a conversion to many of those other software programs that had been available. This will cover it with money left over for another issue today.
Carol, is this gonna make you guys easier, more flow easier?
I believe
Makes
so.
it go easier and it flows easier is time not wasted.
Yes.
Time is money. So if this is something that's gonna bring us into 2026, like we should be doing,
Mhm.
then I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of that software.
How much is the software?
What's the exact? Sorry.
Yep, so right now, the conversion and installation, so the conversion's $11,000 and the installation is $3,640. The monthly support is $4,000, which is similar than what we're paying for the.
Similar to what we're paying.
What we're paying for now. There is a $50,000 tax rewrite, and so what that is that they are currently in the development stage of modernizing that software. So when that happens, we will have the option to purchase that addition for modernization of that software. That is not right now. That'll be a future budgeted item. So right now, it's $13,640 would be for the conversion and installation.
Okay, so everything else is crossed off on your,
Yep, everything else is crossed off on here. These are things we can add in the future, but right now, it was basically this top CPT real estate tax rewrite.
A lot of it we can budget for next year.
Yeah.
Some of that we have the same information available on Beacon, so not.
don't
you know,
duplicate.
Why would we
Yep.
create another little site over here for people to go to and then have Beacon over here that
many
provides the same
questions.
information? So, and we pay for Beacon.
I'll stand by my motion.
And we need 13,000?
And we have that, and we actually would have the money that we wouldn't have to budget for the $50,000 conversion. There's approximately $110,000 that has been earmarked for modernization of our systems, our tax
Do you need a
systems.
second on that?
She does.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. One question, Andy, what's your opinion on that before we go any farther?
Too late now. You already voted for it.
Well, I know it's too late, but I'd still like to hear his opinion.
Well, come on up, Andy. You're happy to be the next one anyways.
It's the next
so.
one on the list
Felt
anyway.
kinda lost sitting back there. I know you wanna say something, so.
It seems like a fine product, and a major benefit to it is it's not gonna worry about someone buying it and turning it into something else in the next 6 months, which is an issue that we've all
That's your
faced.
major worry these
Yeah.
days.
It's a problem, and we've been there.
That's not a worry, it's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. So, yeah, as far as the product goes, it will merge nicely with our current infrastructure, and give us a path in the next, 5 years to change our infrastructure accordingly. So, I mean, there's a lot of wins.
Okay,
Want to read the next one?
okay, now we'll move on to number 11. Consider entering a 3-year contract with the Dark Trace Cyber Security Platform to further protect the county's network and data.
Yeah, so this is something that, with kind of recent developments, with cyber attacks on counties, a few months ago, Winona was, everybody knows, that had an incident. We always still learn about, attacks and ransomwares even to this day of things that are affecting counties. When, especially kind of Winona was the catalyst on that a few months ago, Andy started taking a deep dive look into some of the tech features that we have to secure us and help us. One is this thing that he has found and has been testing for a few weeks is something called Dark Trace. I'm not going to really get into the technical details. I'll let him describe it, but it limits, it looks into our system and stops things from happening, and I'll just let him do some tech stuff.
I think you also have to
Probably
look at
shouldn't
the year-long debacle of Mower County.
And that too. There's been a few.
And that's
Paul, there's.
right by us. It's,
In the last 12 months, there have been at least 4 major events throughout the state.
So this is gonna be, for the initial out the gate, it's $38,595.47. This would be paid for out of that fund that Carol also identified as well.
I wouldn't think of a better use for the remaining money than keeping our data safe. It's always been a big priority of IT, and I was in IT. I know just exactly the pain you feel when somebody else is hit because you don't know.
Do you wish you were still in IT?
Oh, no. No.
You knew that answer.
I sleep somewhat at night.
I should have said yes.
Yeah, it's a
I'm sorry, I
crazy
couldn't-
world. I always look at it as, what if we don't do this? And then what would be the cost for recovering anything that we would lose, the personnel that would have to not just get out a pen and paper. There's a lot more to it than that, right, Andy?
There is quite a bit more to that.
I think this is a no-brainer, so. You wanna make a motion?
A motion to approve.
Biggest one ever.
Second,
We got a motion and a second to do a 3-year contract. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Easy.
Easy.
Easy peasy. Coordinator updates.
Yeah, so I have a few. Tonight is the Houston County Townships Officers Association Annual Meeting in the basement of the Justice Center EOC. That is at 7 p.m. That starts. So I will be in attendance on that. Tomorrow, we have website training. That starts tomorrow. Our new website is rolling out, hopefully sooner than later. And we are identified people in each department to help with training them to manage each department's specific section in that website. So that'll be held tomorrow, just FYI. Thursday is the Public Utilities Commission will hold a decision meeting related to the application completeness on the Badger to Gopher transmission line. We've been requested to participate. Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Myrie will be a part of it as well as myself. I will actually be in Minnesota Association of County Administrators Spring Technical on Thursday, Friday, so I think I may be next door, so I may be there in person. So that will happen April 9th and at 10 PM, 11. And if you have not gotten an email for, okay, I have gotten a link, so I will make sure that you get that.
Thank you. And we are also meeting to just look at script or what is it that we want to present and say,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
From on behalf of the county?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do that. And I don't know if they're gonna call on us, but they give us the option to be there and give us the option to say something if they would like.
That'd be Zoom right here, correct?
Yeah, you can Zoom from essentially wherever, yeah.
I'll
Yep.
do it. I'll come here, I guess, if that's all right.
And then we'll have Andy get you set up and I'll flip with that.
You wanna come up here, Cindy, or you wanna do it at home?
I was just looking at my schedule. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Saturday, April 25th, 9 AM to 2 PM's Clean Sweep Recycling Event, Houston, at the Recycling Center. So just kind of a reminder on that. And then also Public Health, the Mayo Clinic Alzheimer's Disease Research Center in collaboration with Houston County Public Health presents Brain Health, Aging, and Dementia. So there's 2 sessions, 3 sessions. There it is. There it is. He just pointed out the 3, so sorry. First one's Building Better Brain, Session 1. That would be April 9th from 1 to 3. Session 2 is Why Does Forgetfulness Signal Dementia? That's April 16th from 1 through 3. Session 3 is Demystifying Aging and Dementia Research. That is April 23rd, 1 through 3 PM. For more information, you can contact Sue Felton for that.
You do not have to attend all 3, you can.
And that is in the EOC Justice Center basement?
When is that? I wanna talk to you before you leave.
What were we talking about?
Stop.
Those are all the things that I have.
Go.
Are you all done, Brett?
I'm done now.
Let's go to all 3.
I'm going to all.
Okay, I'll go with the board chair. I got a meeting tonight, everybody's, the township meeting. Got that meeting on Thursday. Outside of that, I guess I haven't, just a bunch of phone calls on Maribel thing and the gun thing. That's all I got. Bob?
I had the Township Association's meeting that
I
we were
forgot
at. They were doing a lot of prep for the meeting tonight, and then also their big one here in the fall. And then we had the Parks Committee meeting. Polly did a good job putting that together. They're getting stuff basically rounded up to get Wildcat on track with some updated parking slips and new picnic tables and getting the water hookups tested, and everything's going pretty well there. So that's all I had, other than hopefully the emails and phone calls will slow down now.
I doubt it.
No. Just moving on.
Next thing.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, you done, Bob?
Yep, I'm good, thank you.
We got airport commissioner meeting on Wednesday, the 15th.
Next week, Wednesday.
We got Monday is ECB meeting, the 24th. I believe, I just want to make sure, April, 24th, our mapping, school mapping, they're having a round, tabletop here from 9 to 11:30, it'll be in Houston County here. It's our new interior school mapping that our grant program, the grant that we got, 7,000 or 7 million, whatever it was, from ECB, so pretty excited about that. I know there'll be a lot of people involved with that, so those are obviously upcoming, and I am planning on attending the clean sweep. It was a great time with Eric last year, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with him.
I'm sure you guys are bonding or what?
Eric is buying lunch, he said that. So this is exciting. That's all I got to say, Eric.
Okay,
I guess it's your turn, Eric.
hopefully you'll forget it by then, so.
What are we, now where are we going with this?
I had just want a reminder that extension meeting coming up May 7th instead of April this month, so it's May 7th. We changed our schedule a little bit. Had an EDA meeting last week. Didn't have anything new come forward a whole lot. We just did a lot of review and of potential and things like that. So basically that, yeah, and then I had the planning commission a couple weeks ago, so have another one coming up this month, so. That's all I got.
Let's see, yeah, EDA last week. And then I also had the Houston County Collaborative Meeting, which is very beneficial to see what's going on in the area, the district schools, and how our public health works with them on their education needs for whether it be basically drugs in the school or, you know, any of the things that we need to talk about, some of the pending tobacco ordinance. So that's a good meeting to meet with them. And then also, let's see, this week I had Selco Governance. I'm on the governance committee working with their design for strategic planning. Selco hasn't worked on strategic planning for a little while, and they also need to look at a board evaluation. So I'm working from that team with them this week. And I think that's all the other things that you guys have not mentioned that it's going on this week. I have a workforce development forum also this Thursday. So I'll bounce back from that and go to the public utility session. I know that's, I'm trying to follow a lot of that information that Wisconsin and Minnesota are working on. We did get a response from Darylyn. You sent that out, Brent, last month, which was pretty much see this part of the application. So I don't know, we might want to look at that at some point and see if workshop maybe, and see if all those points were addressed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I have.
All right. Any closing public comment?
I'll make it short. I just want to thank all of you for your listening and attention to all the people that showed up. It's hard for people to show up at 9 a.m. sometimes. And so I think on behalf of a lot of people, I want to thank you. A couple things that you did mention. First of all, was someone brought up, why was it changed in the sand mining ordinance changed in the first place? That's really a good question. Really a good question. I think that's worth checking into. And as a couple of you board members know, the amendment as it was in 2015 came about by hours and hours and months of collaboration. And we have notebooks. If you want information, we'll bring you all our notebooks, okay, of everything that went down. And Commissioner Johnson, you were involved in that. Mm-hmm. And what came out of that was a true compromise. A true compromise. We don't need to mimic what Winona County and Fillmore County are doing. I think one of you mentioned that as well. We don't need to do that. We would not be here. I don't think too many people were complaining about the ordinance before it was changed. At least I'm not aware of any complaints. So as someone else said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you can go back and rescind at this point, that would be fantastic. But if not, I can only urge you to approve the Baker Hatley Iverson amendment. And let's move on. Let's move on. Nobody wants this. thank you so much, and also thank you for shotgun only. Appreciate it.
Can you please repeat your name?
Linda Griggs, Yucatan.
Thank you.
Also, thank you. I know the Bakers, not as well as I would like to, but they're a sweet family, and their children are really sweet, dear children. And I don't know how you can look at that family and look at the Christiansons and think that this was a good thing to do to the county just for the damage it would do to these two families. Thank you.
Can you repeat your name?
Donna Buckley.
Thank you very much for your patience and listening to all this. Some of us has been through this for several years in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. It went on for a long time. I just want to say two things. And the first thing, there seems to be confusion about sand. And I am a potter of 52 years, and I have sand that comes from a long way away, industrial mining sand way out west that goes into my Stoneward clay. I see what it is. I know what it is. It is sort of a light brown, rounded thing that goes in. Now, I live right near where this proposed sand, and there's a hill, the Erickson mine, and Tracy Erickson's a good friend of mine, and he does a little bit in there, but I know what it is because when you come down, you take the topsoil off and then you get to brown sand. Industrial sand, it's all the same thing. You can call it whatever you want, but it has iron oxide and manganese dioxide, and that's what makes it kind of brown, a little darker brown, light brown. Then you get to a striation that's is frac sand. Well, it's frac sand. It's whiter and it's rounded edges and it's whiter, and that's where the money is. And that's in that hill too, because Tracy has kind of a band of that going, and that's only 500 feet from the hill that they're proposing to do the mine in. So if you have any questions about sand and silica sand and why we're concerned, because that the river is right there too. So if they have to, they don't have to wash the industrial sand, but they do have to wash the silica sand. And that's what kicks up the dust and everything when they're washing. And where does the water go? Into the river, and that's the Root River, and people are canoeing, and that's why he was here from, to tell you the tourists are around here. Okay, so, and then the second thing is that what I was thinking, since I talked to the people at the court of whatever their name is, it's a long name, and I got the two state statutes on public hearings. If you can say that I think that half mile was changed to a quarter mile and the public wasn't notified properly, you could just, instead of tabling it, you could just say, okay, we'll overturn it, and then we'll talk about, if you want to change it, then do it so that you know what you're doing and you do it with all of us here. Okay, thank you very much.
Repeat your name.
And I left the statutes for, it's 375 point, and yes, you have them. So there are two statutes there you can look at too.
Can
Thank
you
you very
repeat your
much.
name? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Mary Denzer. And I have a pottery in Chisholm Valley, which is around the corner from where the sand mine is going to be, or they propose to have it. Thank you.
Steve Hartwick, Money Creek Township. I want to thank you folks for tabling today. It's in sharp contrast with how the haste of G-Cube got pushed through. I have a couple of points to make. At the end of November last year, I wrote Director Miners to request a copy of the written notice and date sent for the public hearing about the amendment to the county zoning in regards to definitions, density. And that was done in, I believe, February. She replied to me in December 16th, 2025, per your request, encloses the notice that was published in the Caledonia Argus, which is separate from what is supposed to have been sent to the townships and to the cities as per 394.26 of Minnesota statutes. Email notices were sent that day as well, and mailed notices typically are sent on the Monday of that week, but there are no records to confirm that. Okay, so you guys got a township officers meeting tomorrow night, is that correct? Can you check with your township officers and find one of them that has a copy of that email that was sent to them? Because before I wrote minors, I called, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8, I had a list I gave her, of townships and cities, and none of them had a record of that. So if you could establish that there's a record. Plus, she said, the public notice about amendments, the onus was on the applicant. That's just bogus, you know? The G-Cube doesn't have to run an ad in a paper to say that they're amending the code. This is something that should be done through the county. So now I'm wondering, so now we had a proposal for this amendment. Is there a record now of our stuff being sent to the townships and cities through the county? What was the message? What was the date? And so, you know, we're supposed to be doing it according to state regulation. Has that been done for this one? I'm just curious. Did it happen? So, anyhow, thank you guys for giving us more time, giving yourselves more time to consider this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce Ruffler, Yucatan Township. I also wanted to thank you for all the work that you guys have been doing. I've been watching your recordings now for the last 4 or 5 months, and I appreciate everything that you've done and the resolutions passed, not only today, but in the recent months. And I just wanted to address a couple things that were brought up, talking about things can be addressed during the cut process, like that can be a condition. I don't think this is anybody's fault, but I think we should acknowledge that we don't have the staff to actually regulate or monitor those conditions. Amelia is swamped, I can only imagine, because I've been reading all the paperwork that she has to come up with. And so, you know, for instance, in the past when we've done tonnage limits on mines, like, do we know how much they mined last year? Are there receipts? What's commercial? Like, where are they selling it? We just don't really have the staff or the funds. And I know the term, when we say unregulated, that can feel offensive because you feel as though things are regulated, but if we're placing all the regulations on state and federal regulations, again, they're not here in the county protecting us, and that's all complaint reactive. So unless I trespass on somebody's land, get photo evidence proving that they're putting sediment somewhere they shouldn't or using chemicals, nobody will know. And yes, I think that's all, and then I forget my train of thought. But thank you for taking the time to listen, and again, for the work that you do.
Thank you. Okay, no more closing public comment. Kurt, what do you think about adjourning?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion. First and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.
I didn't
Thank
get
you
the
guys for
opposed,
coming.
same sign.